ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
I suppose I'm one of the luckiest players to ever lace on a boot, to have two clubs, two organisations with good people that create better people and then better football as well. So the emotion was, it was there, but it got sort of put on the back burner because of the injury. So I'm half glad that was the case.
Cooper Cronk, after winning the 2018 NRL Premiership with the Roosters. He did it with a broken scapula. True story. That was the very first season after leaving the Storm. And it was kind of the inspiration for the Chooks in grabbing ex-Manly legend Daly Cherry-Evans. The thinking being, you can get another champion at the end of his career and contend for a title. DCE might, inverted commas, do a Cronk. All of that means this Thursday is a grudge match as Daly Cherry-Evans faces his old club Manly as pressure mounts from his Roosters fans. The person who has lived this experience is Cooper Cronk. He's on today's show. What can DCE expect? What's his advice? Let's find out. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Cooper Cronk is an NRL legend, having won everything there is to win. Origin Classics, premierships with Melbourne and the Roosters. These days he's delivering some razor-sharp analysis with Fox leading their coverage of the NRL. Cooper, hello.
I should be on the show more often, mate, with that introduction. Appreciate that.
Hey, nothing but facts here. I mean, the reason we wanted to talk to you is because Daly Cherry-Evans is playing his old club Manly this week for his new club, the Roosters. And when the Seagulls legend announced live on TV he was quitting Manly, I mean, it's like one of these stories of 2025. Can you remember just your knee-jerk reaction to that news in the moment?
Well, there were some rumblings, and there was no doubt that I remember they were playing really well. They were probably 4 wins from 5 games to start the season, and then that came out. And as rugby league news does, it gets spun around, turned inside out and upside down, and ended up being the biggest news story of the period of time. So I'm not aware of the nuances that occurred in that time, but ultimately a club legend who played a lot of football there decided to leave, and it was a bit of a drawn-out process to where he ended up, and it all comes back in circles on Thursday night. So, his storyline at the Roosters is very different to what he did at Manly. He's a club legend at Manly, so let's see how he gets received and how he plays on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, you've lived a version of this experience. I think footy fans, we're sort of drawn to wondering about the crowd reaction, the interactions with teammates. Like, what can you remember from your first time that you played against the Storm back in 2018?
Yeah, it got booed. I think my first game against the Storm was in Adelaide, so it was a neutral venue. But my first return to AAMI Park, there was some boos. My former friends came at me very hard from every angle.
Past the 30, it'll come back for Cooper Cronk, and the crowd, they give him a bit of a verbal raspberry there.
Football is competitive. You draw your battle lines and you stand on either side of the field. That's all the way up from owners, board members, players, coaches and fans. But it can be done in a very respectful manner, because ultimately we scratch and claw and fight over the same ball and the 2 competition points. But it can be done in a respectful manner. So every person has their right to respond to Daly on Thursday night. As long as it's done in a respectful manner, you allow Daly to go out and play the way he wants to play. So for me, I remember being booed when I ran out in the field. I remember walking into the wrong change rooms, had to turn around and go back the other way. I remember Jesse Bromwich, who I call a friend, smashed me my first touch.
The big front rower, Jesse Bromwich and Cooper Cronk, had plenty to say. And it was Cooper Cronk who instigated. He chased Bromwich. Keep an eye on that one.
And then it just fell into normal rhythm after that. So one thing Daly has been very good at over a long period of time is he's got a very even temperament. So he's going to need that on Thursday night, because this will be a big game in terms of nerves and excitement and anxiety. But ultimately, performance is king. He needs to go out there and lead his team to victory.
More on him in just a moment, but you went into the wrong change rooms?
Yeah, I did. For 14 years, I remember turning left when it was just autopilot, and this time I had to turn right. But there was a lot of friends at the other end of the corridor that I had to sort of say hello to, so I didn't want to walk in and brush them. I walked up and said hello, and then turned around and came back the other way. But it was friendly, but quite hostile.
That edge, that hostility, did it bother you, or were you sort of like, no, this comes with the territory?
Yeah, it comes with the territory. Look, there's a line that fans, coaches, players, anyone who is a fan of rugby league, that you don't cross over. Like I'm talking about, the high end degrees of vilification, all those things, right? You just don't cross that line. Below that, it's fair because there's people that pay their hard earned, there's people that love their football club, there's people that support their team through hail, rain, storms, and will be there forever and a day. So I like the fact that rugby league is territorial. I like that we are competitive, but as long as it doesn't step over the line, then anyone's entitled to have their opinion. It doesn't change the way that I would play or the way that Daly will play, as long as it's done fair and respectfully.
Yeah, I mean, Daly said that the Beaches community, by and large, have had a lot of positive things to say to him when he sort of runs into people in the street. I feel like there'll be...
Geez, I hope that's okay. I hope that's true.
I feel like it's going to be a different level at the, at Brookvale Oval on a Thursday night, where he's been so central to the fabric of this club for so many years come Thursday.
Yeah, I hope that is true. But he is a legend of that football club. He's spent time there as a young man, developed into a family man, and was captain for a long period of time, won a competition. But those Manly fans have every right to give him some love, pat him on the back, but then also have a little crack at him if he's not playing well or want to put him off his game, as long as it's not in a disrespectful manner. The other thing for Daly is, he now has another supporter base, another fan base that he has to, play for. And ultimately, the Roosters fans don't really care about the time he spent at Manly. They just want the 2 competition points because they got beaten comprehensively against Penrith on the weekend.
20 seconds to go. Penrith 40-4. Again, they announce their presence in 2026 with a loud blaring siren to every other team in the comp.
It's a big game on all fronts.
The way the NRL industry talks about the idea of a DCE to the Roosters is, inverted commas, doing a Cronk. Like, your experience is seen as the gold standard blueprint. So what have you made of the small sample size that we've seen from the champion half? It's been a mixed start.
I can understand the similarities. I'm in the media. I completely get it. But there are a couple of different parts to it. I left Melbourne purely because of a personal reason, not necessarily because of something that happened that may have turned me off. I ended up finishing the Melbourne Storm on really good terms and winning the competition.
Champion players, champion club. Melbourne wins another one.
Competitive tension comes in over the next couple of years. So, look, there are sort of similarities with the age and things like that. And, from my experience, and, this isn't advice for Daly, but what I found in my, battles with the Melbourne Storm is that it's a double-edged sword. I knew everything about Melbourne, about that way they would play, their individual strengths and weaknesses. But on the flip side, they knew exactly the same about me. So it ends up being a game of chess and a game of footy IQ between Daly and Manly. What evidence or analysis is he giving to Trent Robinson and the team in the build-up to this game about Tom Trbojevic or Jake Trbojevic? And then what is Anthony Seibold telling his team to take advantage of the strengths and weaknesses of Daly Cherry-Evans? So it will be physical, it will be a battle, but there is a game of chess in amongst all of that, which I found to be the key part in my matchup against Melbourne Storm.
You hit on something really interesting, and that's the Roosters side of this. Such a proud, big club. And we're all drawn, if we think in our sort of footy fans' mind's eye of your Roosters experience, you might think about grand final performances, playing through a broken scapula, what have you. But you and Luke Keary in the halves, it took a little bit of time to get your rhythm. What's going to be the key for DCE and Sam Walker? Because they're on a similar pathway right now. They've had really positive experiences against Souths. Last week, the opposite, and the Warriors gave them a really hard time in New Zealand as well.
Yeah, that's true. It was probably, I remember getting smashed on Anzac Day against the Dragons. We were probably around the 4 wins, 4 losses mark, and people were calling for my head. That's the pressure that comes with it, right? And that's the pressure that will come with Daly. But one thing that helped us get through that period of time is that we didn't balk or didn't budge on the way that we were playing. We tinkered a little bit, but we ultimately doubled down on what we were doing, and we found some green shoots and some poor performances off the back of that. If we had have changed tact and thrown everything out of everything we'd done during the preseason, would have we gone on to have the success we did that year? I don't know, but the advice for Daly is, make sure that you've done the work now, because you need to double down on it when the pressure comes.
Our season hasn't started off to plan, so there's been more to focus on here at the Roosters than to worry about when the game against Manly was coming. But we're here now, and it is on Thursday.
The Roosters will be a team over call it next 4, 6, 8 weeks that will have up and downs. But as long as it's tracking the same upward trajectory, then they should get confidence and be a better team at the back end of the year. If you look at the season, beaten by New Zealand, they beat South Sydney. Daly plays pretty good, scored the first try, set up the match winner for Tedesco.
Watson waits at dummy half. Cherry-Evans off the inside of the boot now, goes into the in-goal area, and James Tedesco onto it beautifully. The captain can ice the game for the Roosters.
Then a poor performance against the Penrith Panthers. So I think you'll see that up and down motion, but as long as there's an upward trajectory, I think the Roosters fans and faithful should see some light at the end of the tunnel.
Last question. Is it a different pressure at the Roosters? Like, does it hit different that to be the man at the Roosters and the target that can not only come, I guess, externally from the rest of the competition who love to hate on a club that's powerful and, seems to have all the swagger, but also their fans are, understandably have a high bar to clear.
Yeah, I completely get it. There's pressure, there's news articles, there's everything around rugby league. It's what makes it relevant and great and captures the imagination of all the audience. But from my perspective, no, I didn't feel that. There's a couple of things you do as a professional athlete to remove that. I didn't watch anything of Melbourne Storm in my time at the Roosters, particularly that first year. I didn't read any of the articles or anything that was said about me. I don't have social media, so all of that external stuff wasn't really, I wasn't aware of it. So it was literally, what am I doing day to day at the Roosters? How am I getting better? What is my performance like? And they're the professional approaches or mindset that other athletes would have at different stages of chaos. So outside of it, everything is right for people to say what they want to say, but how do you turn that into your internal performance? That's the challenge for Daly. So hopefully he's dialed in. Hopefully, the Roosters' defence is improved of what they did against Penrith, and then that combination of Cherry-Evans and Sam Walker needs to start hitting some targets.
You can catch Cooper Cronk's analysis on Fox League all season long. Coop, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Headlines. A couple of other things bubbling away in the NRL. Storm coach Craig Bellamy is unsure whether Eli Cartol will ever play again after his sickening brain bleed that came playing for Tonga at international level. Tiger star Jerome Luai, he's going to miss a month of footy with a knee injury, while in Brisbane, News Corp's reporting key Brisbane assistant Ben Teo has quit the Broncos after allegedly clashing with coach Michael Maguire. Cricket weather review into England's humbling Ashes tour of Australia has dropped. Too long, didn't read. Coach Brendan McCullum, Captain Ben Stokes, Managing Director Rob Key, all three will keep their respective positions. The review identified team culture, long-term planning and better alignment with county sides as three main areas for improvement. Here's Key on whether McCullum will alter the team's playing style.
There's no point keeping Brendan McCullum if you want him to completely change and become someone else, to go in a completely different style, because if you lose authenticity as a coach, captain, leader in any business, you're done. And Brendan has not done that, and I don't want him to do that. They just have to keep evolving. That's the style.
So Bazball might live on. Hard to say for sure. Stokes posted a snap of him, McCullum and Key to Insta saying, in part, I effing love cricket. I effing love this team. I effing love being England captain. And I've got so much more to give in this role, and I'm so happy that I get to do it with Baz and Rob. All's well that ends well. Georgia Vol has plundered a maiden international T20 century from 53 rocks as Australia thumped the Windies. The Aussies made 7 for 211 and the Windies were 3 for 61 in reply when rain effectively handed the visitors the win. The Sheffield Shield final between SA and Vic will be Scott Boland's 100th game in the comp, and many cricket fans have long argued the Quick deserves a statue, and Vic Cricket have delivered, kind of. They gave him a cardboard cutout of a statue ahead of the Shield final. The vision of him unveiling it was wonderfully awkward. A reminder, live coverage of the final on ABC Listen. And in the AFL, there's growing noise about the possibility of a twilight grand final. Check out ABC AFL Daily, where Bob Murphy and Corbin Middlemass break down why it might not be the worst thing in the world. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny. Thanks to the NRL and Sky Sports for the extra audio used in this episode.